All right. All right, sports fans. How are you doing? This is After the Gig. This is Jesse Humphrey. It's who knows. I am home. I am sitting in my bed and there I'm looking through my calendar and there's nothing in it. So, here we are. Here we are. We're a bunch of people that love music with no place to go to see music. But luckily, we can listen to as much of it as we want at home or in the car. And there's a lot of people in the cars these days doing nothing, just out on the road, lots of traffic. I don't know, man. I am at the point where I'm starting to crack. I'm getting frustrated really easily. I'm snapping really easily. Not like in a bad way, but yes, in a bad way, but like snapping, like just getting aggravated by a lot of the things that I see and hear, and you know, I can't go, I can't scroll through Facebook to see like what people are up to these days. All I see on Facebook are a bunch of crazy conspiracy theories about this virus. There's like no truth to any of it. It's just out of control. Everyone's become some kind of expert on this thing, and I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm starting to crack. I was talking to Dan Mills the other day, and we were talking about how, like, I play a lot of music, and there's a lot of people out there that play music all the time. A lot of musicians, obviously, that have had their shows canceled. But there is also the musician, Dan doesn't play out, doesn't tour as much as, some other musicians do. And we were talking yesterday, he's like, I'm at my tipping point where I need to play a show or I'm going to go crazy. And I started to realize, I was like, wow, maybe that's why I'm just getting so annoyed with stuff. And I don't know. I thought I would be better at just like not going out and not seeing things, but like without dealing with people and without going out and without doing things, the little interactions I have with people via online have been just like blown out of proportion. And I hate it. I hate that. But yeah, I'm starting to crack. I'm like, I can't do the thing that I love to do. And Dan described it that way too. It's like this thing that like we spent our lives working on and trying to figure out how to do it for a living. I can't do it right now. I can't do it. And I don't know. And the worst part about it is I don't know when I'm going to be able to do it again. Yeah, there's shows on the books, but stuff keeps getting pushed back. Things keep getting canceled. It's like, it's really, really frustrating. And, I, what do we do? It's like, I, I don't know what to say. It's like, yes, we don't want to open things up early so people get sick and die from this disease, but I don't like who, I don't know. I don't want to say anything insensitive from, the perspective of someone sitting in an apartment that is staying away from the news largely. But I don't know. I just, I hope, I don't know if you guys also share in the same frustration. I mean, we must all share in the same frustration. Like I said, people are out on the roads driving around in Providence near where I live. There's people out on the street, no mask, walking around on nice days. It's like, I feel like it's going to come to a point where everyone's like, fuck this. Like, what are we doing? It's just, God, it's rough. It's rough and it feels shitty. And I don't know. I haven't talked to, I'd like to talk to some of my musician friends, that's what this show is about. But I'd like to get in there and talk to them about how they feel and how they feel about that. Because, the live stream thing is cool and everything. I've definitely enjoyed doing it. It's definitely helped me get that side of my, I don't know, just performing for people. Like I really enjoy to perform for people, and getting that kind of thing, that scratch itched, has been really, really great. But man, I can't imagine everybody is like really super psyched about doing all these things all the time. A lot of times I go on, it's like people will play and they're happy to do it. They're happy that people are watching, but it's like, man, you got to want to be in front of people. You got to want to be in a club. You got to want to be, hear the rumble of the bass, and hear the cymbals, and hear the snare drum crack, and hear the guitars break up and guitar solos, feel the sweat off the stage. Like, you got to want that really bad right now, as bad as I want it right now. It's rough. It's really, really rough. And I really feel for all of the musicians and performers that can't do what they want to do right now. It's a bummer, because I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to crack. I'm starting to get angry. I'm starting to be a little perturbed about it. I don't know who to believe online and who to go to. I don't see any answers. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just, and I'm not saying this to depress anybody. Obviously, it's not the most uplifting beginning to a podcast in the world, but this is just how it is, how I feel. This is how I'm sure a lot of musicians feel right now. And it's not fucking fun, and it's not cool. Like, man, I want to, I'm at the point where I want to set up some kind of like, what's going to happen? Do we have to become the promoters and say, hey, you know what? If you want to see live music and you feel comfortable with it, I'm setting up a backyard show, and you come over and you we'll play the backyard show. We'll get in front of people. We'll all enjoy ourselves. Everyone wears their mask. Whatever I have to do. If I have to wear a mask to play drum, like, I'll fucking do it at this point. I don't care. I'm like, I don't want anyone to get sick, but I'm just so beyond. I'm just beyond frustrated. Yeah, that's where, those are the thoughts going through my head. But I will not go as far to be out in a huge loaded crowd of protesters that could be sick. I think that's kind of dumb, and just I'm very happy and okay with the slow opening of things, if it's safe and if things don't spike up again, because I definitely don't want to be back in this situation in the fall. Like, everyone not doing anything, all my restaurant worker friends not having jobs, not being able to pay their rent, just people really not taken advantage of, but people really reeling from this whole experience that we are all going through. But man, if this has taught me anything, it's that teachers are grossly underappreciated and underpaid. That, like, the people that make the country go and provide our education, delivery drivers, people that, like, they're just grossly taken advantage of. And I think at the end of this thing, those are the things that need to change. We need to get smarter, and we need to take care of the people that make us smarter. All right. Okay. So, one thing that I saw on the After the Gig, if you've made it this far, one thing that I saw this week on the After the Gig page that Nicole Lavallee posted was an article by The Atlantic. So I think Dave Grohl wrote it and submitted it to The Atlantic, and it's about the day the live concert returns. So I'm just going to go through this. And I mean, excuse me. I mean, this is coming from a vastly different perspective, because I think the majority, you have these huge bands that are obviously suffering. It's all relative. They're probably, if you're going out for an arena tour, you're making millions of dollars, you're making merch, whatever. But it's really the bands that are slinging it in the clubs and small theaters and stuff like that that are really, really struggling right now. Let's see. Day live concert returns. Story by Dave Grohl. If you don't know who Dave Grohl is, you need to lift up that rock. You need to crawl out. You need to start by listening to Nirvana. Where were you planning on being for the 4th of July this year? Backyard barbecue with your crankiest relatives? No, because I'm not going to hang out with cranky relatives. Fighting over who gets to light the illegal fireworks that your derelict cousin smuggled in from South Carolina. That's pretty funny. Or maybe out on the Chesapeake Bay arguing about the amount of mayonnaise in the crab cakes while drinking warm National Bohemian beer. No. Get a refrigerator. Put it in the refrigerator. Better yet, tubing down the Shenandoah with a soggy hot dog while blasting Grand Funk Railroad's We're an American Band. That sounds pretty fun. He's very descriptive in his writing. And yes, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read this thing. I know exactly where I was supposed to be. FedEx Field. I mean, Jesus Christ. FedEx Field outside Washington, D.C. with my band, Foo Fighters, and roughly 80,000 of our closest friends. Our closest friends. Pretty. Yeah. It's patronizing. We were going to be celebrating the 25th anniversary. Wow. Of their debut album. That album came out 25 years ago. A red, white, and blue keg party for the ages. It was primed to be an explosive affair shared by throngs of my sunburned hometown brothers and sisters, singing along to more than a quarter century of Foo. Man. Well, that's impressive. 80,000 people at a show. Imagine going to a show right now with 80,000 people, knowing what you know now about the coronavirus. So just that sentence alone, I'm like, I don't know when that happens. They don't want to have people at sporting events. They don't want to do it. And I'd say you're I don't know, you're kind of on top of each other anyway, but a concert where everyone's dancing, grinding up on each other, maybe not a Foo Fighters concert, but, sweaty, coughing, sneezing. Just think of that picture. And think of how long it will take to reverse how we feel now about sickness and viruses and all being in one place. I can't walk down the street without somebody looking at me weird, like, oh, he looks kind of weird. So I don't know. Well, things have changed, says Dave Grohl. Unfortunately, I can't read for the life of me, let alone read out loud. So sorry. Sorry, you're learning something new about me. Unfortunately, the coronavirus pandemic has reduced today's live music to an unflattering little window that look like doorbell security footage and sound like Neil Armstrong's distorted transmissions from the moon. That's not like, see, it's being, what he's not saying here is that, hold on, let me finish this paragraph so then I'll say something about it. It's enough to make max headroom seem lifelike. I don't know what that means. Don't get me wrong. I can deal with the monotony and limited cuisine of quarantine. My lasagna game is on point. And I know that those of us who don't have to work in hospitals or deliver packages are the lucky ones. But still, I'm hungry for a big old plate of sweaty, ear-shredding, live rock and roll ASAP. The kind that makes your heart race, your body move, and your soul stir with passion. Yeah. Duh. Obviously. We all want that. But what you're not saying here is that it doesn't sound or look like that. Sometimes it does. If you've watched my live streams, you know that things can go terribly wrong. But there's ways to make it better, and there's people that are out there making it better, making the most of it. So I'm not going to discount any person that is live streaming. It's not the ideal scenario. And yeah, I would much rather be around people playing a show, doing all those really fun things, especially in front of 80,000 people. But I mean, I don't know. We're strong, resilient people, and from what I've seen personally in just my own live streams and stuff, people have been having it on the big screens in their house, been having like little watch parties. It's been really, really great, and people are really making the best of the things. And man, I have such a crabby attitude right now. So there's nothing like the energy and atmosphere of live music. It is the most life-affirming experience to see your favorite performer on stage in the flesh rather than as a one-dimensional image glowing in your lap as you spiral down a midnight YouTube wormhole, which is also really fun. I mean, you're doing that more than you're going out, or at least I am. Even our most beloved superheroes become human in person. Can't read. Imagine being at Wembley Stadium in 1985 as Freddie Mercury walked on stage for the Live Aid benefit concert, forever regarded as one of the most triumphant live performances of all time, clocking in at a mere 22 minutes. Wow, it was only 22 minutes. Freddie and Queen somehow managed to remind us that behind every rock god is someone who puts on their studded arm bracelet, absurdly tight white tank, in stonewashed jeans, one pant leg at a time, and he makes gold records, just like the rest of us. But it wasn't necessarily Queen's musical magic that made history that day. It was Freddie's connection with the audience that transformed that dilapidated soccer stadium into a sonic cathedral. Yeah, I mean, can't argue with that. In broad daylight, he majestically made 72,000 people his instrument, joining them in harmonious unison. I mean, Freddie was the best at that. When it comes to making the crowd do what he wants, he was the best. As a lifelong concert goer, I know this feeling well. I myself have been pressed against the cold front rail of an arena rock show. I've air drummed along to my favorite songs in the rafters and been crushed by the crowd. I mean, all of this, what he's saying in this article so far, I know it's going to change. It's got to change because we get it. He's just pushing the point along of how good it feels to be at a concert. It feels really good, Dave. Feels really good. Yeah. Where am I? I sung at the top of my lungs with people I may never see again. Yeah, and that's a great feeling. How about when you're at a concert and you're in the audience and you have someone you have your group of people that you're with, but you're also like way more open to saying hello and meeting the person next to you. So like you're there and you're like, because you're in this experience together. You are at your common ground. You are at the place where you have something in common with the person next to you, and it's the band that's playing. So, I mean, if someone's next to you smoking a joint, that feeling when they look at you and they offer it to you, that's amazing. That's an amazing experience when someone you don't know is like, "Hey, want to get high with me?" So, that's one thing, the great thing about a concert. All right, Dave, come on. When you take away the pyrotechnics and confetti of an arena rock concert, what are you left with? Just people? I think you forgot about the music, bro. No, I mean, well, half the time people don't. I mean, most of the shows that I go to, there's no pyro. There's none of that. I mean, if a band is doing that stuff, they're really going above and beyond. That's not like a huge arena band. So I will never forget the night I witnessed U2 perform at what used to be called the MCI Center in DC. This was their 2001 Elevation Tour, a massive production. I waited for the lights to go out so I could lose myself in magnificent state-of-the-art rock show. To my surprise, the band walked on stage without any introduction, house lights fully illuminated, and kicked into the first song beneath their harsh fluorescent glow, without the usual barrage of lasers and LED screens we've all become accustomed to. Interesting. The brilliant move stunned the audience and began an unforgettable concert in a very raw, personal note. And that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys went to that tour, but I'm just trying to imagine it in my head right now, and that's a really interesting way to start a show. Not bad. Not necessarily. I don't know. That's a really cool production creative choice. Maybe it was by accident. Maybe it was. The next sentence is, "This was no accident." This was no accident, mind you. It was a lesson in intimacy. This guy actually kind of reminds me of the scene in. Have I said that a bunch already? This actually reminds me. The scene in the movie Ray, where Ray is playing on stage. He's playing a ballad, and the stage manager, it's pretty chatty. And the stage manager notices that it's really chatty, so he tells the LD lighting director, to bring the lights down. The lights come down. Everyone shuts the fuck up. So it's an interesting move. Without all the strobes and lasers, the room shrank to the size of a dirty nightclub at last call. Every blemish in plain view. And with that simple gesture, we were reminded that we are all indeed just people. People that need to connect with one another. All right, Dave, I see what you're doing here. I'm starting to come around. One night before a Foo Fighters show in Vancouver, my tour manager alerted me that the boss himself, Bruce Springsteen, was in attendance. Cue paralyzing nerves. Yeah, that feeling when even someone that you know, this, again, can't really relate to anything on this article. 80,000 people, Bruce Springsteen coming to your show, pyro lasers. I wondered how I could possibly perform. You could figure it out. In front of this legendary showman, famous for his epic concerts that spanned 4 hours. Let's talk about that for a second. Too long. The concert's too long, Bruce. It's too long. Play more concerts for less time. Yeah, it's too long to go see a show. Who can be on their feet for 4 hours? Like it's crazy. Oh man, crazy. I surely could never live up to his lofty expectations. What are you talking about? You played in Nirvana, dude. You're in the Foo Fighters. It turns out he was there to see the opening band. Cue devastating humiliation. So I was off the hook. But we chatted briefly before the gig, and I was again reminded of not only the human being behind every superhero, but also the reason millions of people identify with him. He is real. 3 hours later, as I sat on a locker room bench recovering from the show, drenched in my own sweat, there was a knock on the door. Wonder who that was. Bruce wanted to say hello. Having actually stayed for our set, it's really funny how he's talking as if he was like some band playing at like O'Brien's Pub in Boston, and you know, Bruce Springsteen stayed to the end. You're the Foo Fighters. Generously thanked us and commented on our performance, specifically the rapport we seem to have with our audience, something he obviously understood very well. When asked where he watched the show from, he said that he stood in the crowd just like everyone else. Of course he did. He was searching for that connection too. A few days later, and here's the part that people were asking about. A few days later, I received a letter from Bruce, handwritten on hotel stationery, that explained this very clearly. When you look out at the audience, he wrote, you should see yourself in them, just as they should see themselves in you. Not to brag, but I think I've had the best seat in the house for 25 years because I do see you. Oh, this is his response. Let's see. I think as an artist, you have to, and this is not necessarily me speaking as an artist. This is my perception of it from an outside perspective. But I think that there's artists that do a really, really great job of taking their own life experiences and relating to regular people's experiences, which a musician is a regular person. It's someone that has a talent and can do something really well, whether the talent's writing a song or playing an instrument. But the ability to write a song that someone can pinpoint a moment in time in their life makes that artist and makes that song larger than life. And that's why fans exist. That's why people come out to shows. When I'm sitting behind the drums, I'm trying to execute a thing well. And only then, if it's happening to the best of our ability and it's like, it feels good, then you can extend it out to the crowd. And of course, I mean, we're on stage to provide an experience for you. It's the same way I expect to go to a show and have someone perform and create an experience for me. I don't look at the people on stage as if they're superheroes. I mean, if I'm going to make a comparison, when I go to see a John Mayer concert, who I'm a huge fan of, as you all already know, or even when I would go see like 311 concerts as a kid, or when I went to go see D'Angelo, or I don't know, when I went to see Paul McCartney, like you see these people and you hope, like I would be a little disappointed if they didn't play as well as I thought they should. The songs sometimes aren't, I think you have to do that to get your full message across. You have to execute well. But we're all there. We're all in this together. And when you are playing to people and you see their reactions and you see them yelling and singing the lyrics of songs that you wrote, or songs that you play all the time, I mean, it's like, what's better than that? There's nothing better than that. It's a very unique experience, and I'm trying to find something to compare it to for someone that's not a musician. It's like getting a promotion every second for 2 hours. It's like it feels great. It's just, that you're in one place and you all have one particular thing in common. Nothing else matters, and you're doing it, and it's great. And that's cool shit. And I felt that way even before I gave a shit about lyrics. Like before that, sometimes if there was a song that made me feel a certain way, I was like, I like this groove. I like the way that the chords feel. But then I didn't like dig deep into words and meanings. Now, a song that I thought maybe was bad because I didn't like, the way the drums sounded, or I didn't like the guitar, or there was just something weird tonally, but I like the singer's voice and I like the lyrics and I related to something, then it doesn't matter. Then it just doesn't matter. I like it when it all comes together in one package, but that's a whole other thing. Let's see. Where am I? Not to brag. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to, I love Dave Grohl. I think Dave Grohl is fantastic. He is, kind of rock royalty. He's up there. And, his experience is vastly different than mine, but it's better, way better. Not to brag, but I think I've had the best seat in the house for 25 years, because I do see you. I see you pressed against the cold front rails. I see you air drumming along to your favorite songs in the distant rafters. I see you lifted above the crowd and carried to the stage for a glorious swan dive back into its sweaty embrace. I see your homemade signs and your vintage t-shirts. I hear your laughter and your screams. I see your tears. I've seen you yawn. Yeah, you. Come on. Yawning is involuntary, dude. Sorry. I had a teacher when I was in middle school that said if you yawned, you'd get in trouble. So I worked so hard for a whole year. I think it was like 6th or 7th grade. I worked so hard to not yawn in math class. Of all classes to not yawn, that's damn near one of the hardest ones. But I did it. I didn't get in trouble. I've seen you in hurricane force winds, in 100-degree heat, and sub-zero temperatures. I've seen some of you grow older and become parents, now with your children's day glow protective headphones bouncing on your shoulders. Sorry for my reading. And each night, when I tell our lighting engineer to light them up, I do so because I need that room to shrink. And that's so true. I mean, when you play a big room and there's all lights and it's huge, it can feel a bit isolated up on stage. You can feel a bit like you're in your practice space and there's really no one else there, especially if you have in-ear monitors and all the sound is pretty much blocked out other than what you're hearing, other than what you want to hear. So I think that's a good point to make, Dave. Good job, Dave. Do that because I need that room to shrink and to join with you as one under the harsh fluorescent glow. In today's world of fear and unease and social distancing, it's hard to imagine sharing experiences like these ever again. Yeah, like I said before, can you imagine 80,000 people in a room after everything you know now? Crazy. I don't know when it'll be safe to return to singing arm in arm at the top of our lungs. Probably safe now. Hearts racing, bodies moving, souls bursting with life. But I do know that we will do it again. I agree with you, Dave. Because we have to. It's not a choice. We're human. We need moments that reassure us that we are not alone. That's really important. That we are understood, that we are imperfect, and most important, that we need each other. I have shared my music, my words, my life with the people who come to our shows, and they have shared their voices with me. Without that audience, that screaming, sweating audience, my songs will only be sound. But together, we are instruments in a sonic cathedral, one that we built together night after night, and one that we will surely build again. Yeah, I mean, feel like it's pretty essential. Gatherings as humans, like, hurts, man. It hurts not to not be together and to just read everything online and on Facebook, and to, I mean, you can really wallow in that. You can really go down a dark wormhole, as I have the last, I'd say, couple of days after I just haven't feeling good. And reading the article makes me feel a little better. Just that, you know, someone else feels that it's absolutely necessary to do this again. We have to. I mean, it's going to come to the point where we need to do it. If we have to do it ourselves and have private shows, man, I'm all for it. I'm all about it. As long as it can be done safely and people feel comfortable. I think that's the big thing. People need to feel comfortable around other people again, because it sucks. It sucks. All right, guys. That was a cool article. Thanks for sharing that on the After the Gig page. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show. Please tell me what your favorite part about any show, favorite artist, favorite show, why you go to see shows. Do you listen to the lyrics? Do you listen to the music? Do you listen to, like, what are you hearing when you hear music? Because everyone hears it differently. And I want to know what you think. All right, guys. I think that's it. That's it for today. Me reading an article and taking unfair jabs at Dave Grohl. I think that's today's episode. Thank you guys all so much for listening to Last Week with Gavin. I will be live streaming 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, playing some guitar, singing some songs, probably having some technical difficulties, but it's going to be fine. If I go away, I will come back. And really, guys, if you have any words of encouragement for me, as well as those music things, and how you guys feel about going to shows, I really want to know. I want to know from everyone. If you listen to this, if you made it this far, send an email to afterthegigpod@gmail.com and tell me how you feel about the whole thing, because it sucks. And yeah, it sucks. Okay, love you guys so much, and stay safe, be well, and I will hopefully see it on Facebook. And that's all, folks.
Gray sky, always floating by, but I only peek when I'm allowed. Welcome me in with your veil that's so thin, as the mystery continues to grow. You say you must realize that my gray sky eyes in the rain, oh, they glow. Now you know. So I'll try to not act so surprised. I'll feel my way. I'll underplay all my curiosity and hide all the questions in my skin. You welcome me in with your veil that's so thin, as the mystery continues to grow. You say you must realize think I changed my mind. I find no need to pretend. Gray sky, would you allow me to be so into you, my friend? Could you welcome me in with your veil that's so thin as the mystery continues to grow? You say you